Hi friends, it's Andrea and welcome to the Sewspire Variety Show, or SBS. This is a weekly video that I will publish for you on Thursday afternoons, 1 p.m. Eastern. Most days I'll be hanging out in the chat during the first play. If you want to interact, ask questions, let me know how you've been, or even offer up some inspiration for future segments. I do hope to have some live guests join me via Zoom. I hope to incorporate some creative challenges and more. So please stay tuned. Watch as I develop this program. I really appreciate the opportunity to expand my reach and include more creative activities beyond sewing, as I have a wide array of interests. In this week's video, we are going to be sewing a small project. I am also going to craft with you some little paper crafts and stamping. I'm also going to give you an idea of how you could use a simple crochet project to quiet your mind and sleep a little better at night. It's worked for me. I can't wait to hear if you have similar results. I'm also going to give you a look around my property outside. In particular, I have a blank canvas basically out there, and I am developing a 5-year plan as to how to landscape it. So I want to periodically take you out there, especially during these warmer months, and let you see how that project is coming along. Again, right now it's basically a blank canvas, but I want to give you a look at the environment that surrounds me and also share with you the beauty that I see in the nature outside. I think nature is a huge source of inspiration and can really be used to fuel your creativity. Hopefully you have parks in your area and trails and other things, and that segment will inspire you to get outside and soak up a little bit of sunshine. And then last but not least, I'm going to provide you with organizing tips. So if that sounds fun to you, take a moment, give the video a thumbs up, and we'll jump right in. So this walkway is awesome, but you can see I have a lot of mulch. So I want to try and go ahead and plan for this area in season 1 of my landscaping. I imagine it's going to take me at least 5 years to get this property the way that I would like it to be. So just this season, this ground cover, which I suspect was predominant in this area, re-emerged. So I'm going to go ahead and let that fill in on this lower quadrant. This year we planted some snapdragons. So those are going to be here with the natural ground cover. And then on this side of the wall, I planted some milkweed, which is supposed to be great for the pollinators, the hummingbirds, butterflies, bees. Then here by seed, I planted some echinacea. So that's taking, it's going to be gorgeous. We planted marigolds, and they definitely deter the deer. One thing that I'm really excited about are these rose bushes. The deer were just munching these down, and so I put these protective cages around them, and they are growing and thriving. And then one of my favorite touches that we put on this house, and so I had a big hole in the middle, and I planted this kind of succulent in there. It was probably only 4 or 5 inches when we planted it, and it is just loving life here inside of this stump. Out here is our septic field, and so the grass is nice and green. However, we can't dig or plant anything in that area because the septic system is there. So This pretty much is just going to be hopefully lush green grass. So I also want to show you the deck, which gives me some options for flowers that maybe the deer might eat. In fact, I know they would chow down on these petunias. So I have options up here for pots. It gets a lot of sun. Right now I have some seedlings that I need to get some water on yet today, and these, I forgot what they are, so it's going to be a nice surprise. And then the stack wraps around. So one of my very favorite shops in town is actually a thrift shop. It's called the Copper Cricket, and I stop by about once a week to see what they have. And on my last visit, I came across this set of Stampin' Up! Stamps from 2006 for $5.50. Right next to them was this gorgeous glittery pouch, which to my surprise, when I opened up, was full of glitter gel pens. I absolutely couldn't resist. The pens were less than $15. I researched those and they sell for around $30 new, which they are in fact new. And the stamps, of course, were $5.50. And back in the heyday, these sets were more than $30. So overall, a pretty good deal in my opinion, but the real value is going to come from the joy that I'm going to receive by working with these tools, and then the things I create are going to continue to bring joy in the lives of others. So today we are going to make a little tiny mini card, and it has a unique sentiment on it. And I'm going to be using one of the stamps from that set that has little floral print and the words thanks on it. I'm going to use the gel pens to write on the inside of that. And then I am using some watercolor paint from the tube. I definitely think you could use acrylic paint. I found that ink pads did not work with these particular stamps. It's really important with these kind of blockish stamps, right? The ones that are carved, that you get a nice coating of paint on there. So the easiest way to do that is with a brush and even strokes there. Then I like to just set that right side up on my surface, and I'm going to take this little mini card. I want to make sure that this image is going on the front, and this is just 1/4 of an 8.5 by 11-inch piece of watercolor paper, which I folded in half. So this is a great project for little extra bits of paper. It doesn't necessarily have to be watercolor paper. It's just I'm using watercolor paint. So I thought that was appropriate. So the stamped image is going to go right on the front of our card. And so what I like to do again is place the stamp on the steady surface face up, and then position my card right on top of that, and without moving that paper, just gently pressing on that stamp so that that image can transfer onto the paper. If you put the paper on the table and then press down with the stamp, I find there is an opportunity for the image to shift. And then carefully pull straight up. And that's what I have. Remember, this is watercolor paint, so it is going to dry lighter. So I'm just going to kind of air dry that, and this will continue to dry some. I'm going to select a coordinating gel pen from my set. This one looks nice here. This is called Glitter Denim. And so what I think is fun to do with this particular graphic is to put a little dot at the top about an inch up from the center of this image, and then come in and draw 2 lines to each corner of the top of that. So it looks like a picture hanging on the wall. And then on the inside of this, I will write the sentiment, "Thanks for hanging in there with me during this transition. Your support means more than you realize. Love, Andrea." And that's just a really unique, fun, fast way for you to express your gratitude. And in this case, this message is from me to you. So thank you so much for hanging in there with me during these last couple years, which have been a massive transition for me. I so appreciate your support. So I have an awesome scrap buster for you today that makes that little mini card extra special. You could put your card in the rear pocket, tuck in a little gift card to their favorite shop or restaurant, and measures slightly less than 5 inches by 3.5 inches. It's crafted from 2 pieces of fabric, 1 piece of fusible fleece, and the snap of your choice. As mentioned, this is a great scrap buster. You're going to need 2 rectangles of fabric that are 7 inches tall by 15 inches wide. I have a very light home decor fabric and a quilt weight cotton, and then my home decor fabric is backed with a like size cut of fusible fleece. So we're going to work with the cotton fabric to create our template. So the first thing I need you to do is fold that in half and press, and then fold that long ways and press. So you have quartered that. Then you're going to fold it in thirds and press. And these press lines are going to become our guides for cutting. So the first cut is right down that center line to that first third mark on the right hand side. Then you're going to come in from the top and cut down until you have removed one of those rectangles. Then on the other side, you are going to do the same thing, just cutting into the third and removing one of those top rectangles, just like that. And you can save these for a future project, work them into a quilt. So now you have a symmetrical piece here. And this is when you are going to need your cutting mat and your rotary cutter and ruler. So I want you to measure up. This would be the left hand side. I want you to measure up 2.25 inches and position the ruler right at that intersection of the cutout we just made. So up 2¼ and the ruler lands right on that intersection. And then you just trim off that little triangle, which is what gives that front pocket its angle. So when this wallet is assembled, that's the look. So the front pocket has that slight angle, and that is achieved by measuring up from the bottom 2¼ inches and angling right into what will be the flap closure on this. So now you have your pattern piece, which you're going to position right sides facing on your interfaced fabric. And then you can do the same thing and just follow your pattern to cut out your second piece with the fusible fleece. And then using a 3.0 stitch length and a 1/4 inch seam allowance, we are going to stitch around the perimeter of this project, and we're going to leave a 3-inch gap at the bottom here to turn this around and press. So I'm going to start sewing along the bottom edge. The 1/4 inch seam allowance is pretty important. I'm going to reinforce with the back stitch, and then as I approach each corner, I am going to slightly back stitch 1 or 2 stitches each side of that corner, and that's just really going to help give you a nice clean corner with just a slight bit of rounding or shape to that, as well as reinforce those stitches at those stress points. So at each intersection, just back up a couple stitches on both sides. So I'm coming around the flap now, being careful to maintain my 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now I'm coming back around here at the base. I want to make sure I stop short and leave that 3-inch gap to turn right at center. So I have stitched around the edge here using the 1/4 inch seam allowance, reinforcing the corners. Now at minimum, you should come in and just angle these corners here to reduce some of that bulk, but you may also want to come in and trim up to the 1/8 inch seam allowance. That will help give you a nice finish here and minimize that bulk. And then the next step is to turn this right side out and gently poke out those corners. If you haven't done so already, now is also a great time to get that iron preheating, because we're going to want to give this a good press. The stuffing tool that comes with the polyfill fluff is a wonderful way to very gently poke out those corners. And then once you have that turned around and the corners situated, go ahead and head over to your iron. Give that a good steam press and turn in this open raw edge there, the 1/4 inch, and press that nice and straight. And then just to reorient you with the project, this will be the rear pocket, and this will be the front pocket, and this is the flap. Now, depending upon what kind of snap you are going to install on this, you have to give some consideration to the top stitching, because if you're going to install a snap that has a bigger head or a bigger base, that's going to interfere with your top stitching. If you are installing a snap that you can do completely manually, like one of the prong snaps that you install with a little hammer, you could really go ahead and do all your top stitching in the last step. However, I am using my cam press to install a magnetic snap, which you can see here comes very close to that stitch line. So I need to accomplish the top stitching in a couple of different steps. So I'm going to show you the way that will work regardless of what type of snap you're using. So the first round of top stitching will be just with the flap here, and you will reinforce with the back stitch right here at these inner corners. Again, maintaining that 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And now I have top stitched around the flap. The next round of top stitching is going to come right up this arm and across the flap and down the opposite side of the arm. And that is what I have so far. It's always wise to take an opportunity periodically and clean up any loose threads. It is now time for me to mark my snap placement. As mentioned, I am working with a magnetic snap. This is one of the smaller ones. I'm actually not sure of the millimeters on that. If anybody knows, please drop it in the comments. So I want to mark center on my flap exterior 1/2 inch up, and that is where I'm going to use the cam press to punch the first hole. If you don't have a cam press, you can use the hand tools for this, no problem. I really do enjoy this cam press. It makes installing snaps and other hardware a breeze, so I highly recommend this. So I just position that flap right up on the press and poke out my hole, and then I'm going to use that hole to mark the second hole by just folding my wallet up there in thirds, and the angled flap goes on the front, and then I bring down that top flap and just mark where that next hole will go for the back of the snap. And then I can go ahead and punch that hole. All right, so now I can install the snap. So I like to put the thinner part or the male portion on the flap, so that just fits right in. And these have decorative, kind of slightly domed caps. I do have to switch out the dies in the cam press. There are specific dies for each piece of hardware that you're going to install. So make sure that you have those right dies there. And then I just put that flap up there and gently press down, and just like that, my magnetic snap is installed. And then I will do the same thing here with the bottom. So this part, you want to make sure that you put that on the front of the angled pocket, because that's how it's going to close. And then same thing, just press down. And that is why I love the cam press. It makes snap installation almost effortless. So we're almost done with this project. Now we just have to fold over that larger pocket first, and then fold over the angled pocket. This is when you want to take the time to go ahead and line up those edges. Make sure that the magnetic snap is installed correctly and get everything as tidy as you can. Once you're happy with that, then you're going to come down the right hand side, reinforce at the pocket intersection there, reinforce at each corner, pivot, sink the needle, reinforce, and travel back up. And I like to just line this up with the top stitching that I pre-stitched on the flap. And just like that, I have a darling wallet that is perfectly sized to hold my custom mini card and whatever else I might want to put in there. I think these little wallets are an awesome scrap buster as well as a thoughtful gift. I hope you enjoyed this project as well as this new series. Also, if you haven't yet had a chance, please do me a favor and give the video a quick thumbs up. As part of the Sewspire Variety Show, each week I will bring you one simple tactic which you can use to bring beauty, function, and order to your creative space. This week, I want to encourage you to use one of the carts you have on hand for a single purpose. So you get to decide what that purpose is. I have this black iron cart with wood shelves that has been assigned the sole purpose of corralling part of my yarn collection. On the bottom and middle level, I have some of my favorite yarns. Most of those have been wound into a nice ball. And then as we get closer to the top, I have work in progress and the essential tools for this particular craft. To add more functionality to the system, I have a small tray situated here in the top, which I can lift out and access scissors. And then I have my extra hooks. I could take just that, bin out, and go sit in a chair and work, or I can bring this whole cart nearby and just play and have fun. The purpose of this system really is to inspire you. If the yarn and the tools are all in different areas, I feel we're less likely to indulge. I hope you find value in this tip and we'll tune in next week for another clever strategy. So recently, before bed, I've started a new habit of crocheting one of these 6-petal flowers. To my surprise, this activity has helped me sleep better at night, and I suspect that's because it's kind of a meditative practice. It's a small project I know I'm going to finish. And then I think it sends my brain the signal, okay, we're winding down and we're getting ready for bed. as opposed to my previous practice of scrolling through my phone and watching videos and such. So if you, like me, sometimes struggle with getting a good night's sleep, I'd like to encourage you to take up crocheting one flower before bed and see if that improves the quality of your sleep. So this is a very beginner friendly project. You are going to be crafting 6 petals, and each petal is comprised of 4 single crochet and then 3 triple crochet flanked by 4 single crochet. So I'm going to show you how to make the petal, and then you're going to repeat that 6 times. You'll begin with a slip knot. And when I crochet, I like to count the stitches in my mind, and I think that is part of the process that to me is relaxing. So this flower is built on 6 single crochets, and you convert those to a loop by connecting it through the second stitch. And then, as mentioned, you're going to need 4 singles, and then this is when you'll start your triple crochet. And you're going to repeat that triple crochet a total of 3 times. I have 1 more of those, and then I'm going to flank that with 4 singles. And at this point, you're going to want to scooch over your 3 triples, and you're going to root that single in that original chain, and that creates the petal. And then you're just going to repeat that process 5 more times. So you'll begin with the 4 singles, you'll do the 3 triples, and you'll root that with 4 more singles. So each night I challenge myself to crochet 1 flower, and after I get enough of these, I'm going to crochet a long strand of single crochet and then tie these flowers onto that to create a flower bunting, which will be really cute to hang here in the studio. And when I finish the flower bunting, I'll be sure to show that to you. I want to thank you for joining me for this first episode of the Sewspire Variety Show. It can only get better from here, so I'm excited to see what the future holds for this program, and I hope you have a beautiful week. I'll see you in the next video, friends.